Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, social media, pop culture, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. I want to thank all of you guys who are following me on new tech, to include new video hosting tech, BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey. If you guys haven't already, make sure you're following me there. And of course, all of you here on YouTube, thank you for the likes, the shares, and the comments. All of that helps contribute to the channel, and I want to thank all of you guys for your continued support.
We start things off out of San Diego, California, CBS Channel 8. Line of cargo ships in Long Beach, LA, now stretches to San Diego's coastline. The backup of cargo ships heading towards Long Beach and Los Angeles is so bad, you can now see vessels waiting off the coast of San Diego. The whole coast is just lined up with shipping containers, says Encinitas resident Peter Byron. So it is quite extraordinary to see and to think that we have cargo ships with the amount of cargo on board, as I understand it sometimes, is the equivalent of having a small city. The supply that a small city would need, say like a 20,000 or even a 32,000 size or populated city, are out there sitting on these ships. It's almost as though it is a created event, as some people are saying, a creation of scarcity, because we already know that prices are going up. And you don't have to be politically active, you don't have to be politically involved, or be, obviously watching videos like mine or commentary or others, or engaged in the constant back and forth on Twitter, to understand every single person in this country, in the United States, realizes that prices are going up because they buy gas, they buy groceries, they buy retail products, and of course some buy used cars and other products in general. Prices are all going up, and not only that, so are taxes. And so we have a situation here where the establishment wanted to make sure that President Trump wasn't in office because President Trump was actually benefiting the country. So now we have a disgruntled group of establishment types that want to be able to make their money back. And if they have to utilize the pandemic, if they have to utilize whatever they need to utilize, create scarcities or issues, that's going to happen. And what's interesting is, as we will talk about here on Biden and Kamala Harris's approval, you have the full weight, the full brunt of the mainstream media, special interests, activists, and tech giants propping up this particular president, who they worked to get elected, and he's failing miserably because the establishment, for the most part, is the one who's in there injecting what they want to be injected into this country, while President Trump was trying to hold back the establishment so that the country and the people here could benefit. But as you can see here, they go with half-truth. Well, it's not a half-truth that taxes are going up and prices are going up. We can see them, so that's not a half-truth. That's like them saying Mary is not pregnant. Either Mary is pregnant or she's not pregnant. She isn't one or the other, right? Truth is that factual. It isn't a half-truth that these prices are up or taxes are up. It is a fact that they are up. But if you're the mainstream media, or if you're those trying to cover for President Biden, then of course you're going to say it's a half-truth. You have to understand. You have to be competitive. See, they get all the opportunities to walk these things back. They get the opportunity to explain these things, but you can't out-explain reality. You can't out-explain truth. And we see here from USA Today, gloomy landscape for Democrats in midterms as Biden's approval drops to 38% in USA Today Suffolk poll. Now keep in mind, USA Today, CNN, the mainstream media, when they do their polls, and it's at 38%, that goes to tell you Joe Biden is having some serious problems, because it took the full weight of the mainstream media, tech giants, activists, and special interests to ensure that President Trump's approval was as low as possible. So you have them all ganging up on President Trump to make sure that his approval is as low as possible. And I mean, he might have hovered at certain times around 38, but most of the time he was in the like in the low 40s up into the mid 40s. And then when the pandemic came out, he was going up even higher. So consider that you have the full weight, the full brunt of the mainstream media, special interest, and of course tech or whomever pushing up Biden's approval, or they should be at least working to make him look a little bit better. But here you see, do you approve or disapprove of the job Joe Biden has done as president? You see 37.8% approve and 59 disapprove. But it gets worse when we look at Kamala Harris, because her approval rating is 27.8 with a 51.2 disapproval. And it's quite extraordinary. But it could be getting worse for the Biden administration, because as we see here, CNN Politics, conservative-leaning appeals court to hear challenges to Biden's vaccine mandate after ping pong ball lottery. And here's what's interesting. When we talk about the Ninth Circuit Court in California being liberal, the left immediately says, well, the judges and or our courts aren't supposed to have a political leaning. That's very rare for them to say that, but they do say it on occasions when it's convenient for them, because the reality is our courts aren't supposed to be political. They are supposed to observe and enforce the law based upon its writing. Of course, we have the spirit of the law and the letter of the law, but nonetheless here. So challenges of the Biden administration's vaccine mandate targeting employees with more than 100 employees will be consolidated and heard by the Ohio-based Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals after it was chosen Tuesday by a ping pong ball lottery. Of course, they just try to say that to kind of tamp things down, to say, oh, look, it was just by complete happenstance that this particular circuit would have raised this challenge. But the thing here is it should be up to the people. Now, of course, it does need to go into the courts or into litigation, because if the president is trying to push a mandate that doesn't have any, legal precedence, then it is a concern. But the reason Joe Biden has gotten away with this mandate is because he hasn't tried to enforce it. So the conservative-leaning appeals court could help determine the ultimate fate of Joe Biden's most controversial push to date to ensure that as many Americans as possible are vaccinated against COVID-19, especially after the emergence of new strains of the virus. Of course, these strains are going to constantly be coming out. These concerns and emergencies, and I don't see a potential lockdown. Believe me, if they could get away with a lockdown, they'd be doing lockdowns if they could get away with it. So what they're having to do is they're having to revert to other means and measures to get people active, right? So it's like, well, because of the backups and the transportation is because we need as many people as possible vaccinated. We need as many people as possible healthy. We need as many people as possible as well. And if they're unwilling to get the vaccine or exercise agency and their own personal rights, and obviously they're creating a problem. So these are measures and these are levels of leveraging that the administration is trying to use to try to tell Americans, man, you are so dumb if you're not doing what we're supposed or what we're trying to tell you to do, because the country isn't going to work unless you decide to do a procedure, to have a procedure done on your person. So you need to get on board with what Joe Biden is saying. Yet, if this were President Trump, oh, you'd never hear the end of it. If President Trump was trying to push this, you'd never hear the end of it. They would be protesting and rioting out in the streets, which I suppose we will be seeing here soon when it comes to the Kyle Rittenhouse case, which I've not talked about here on the channel just yet. I'm kind of waiting for everything to transpire before I kind of weigh in on it. But that's what I have for you guys this Friday.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the comments. If you haven't already, below this video, you can find the various social media sites that I belong to, where I post daily, so be sure you're following me there. And of course, if you're following on New Tech, Odyssey, Rumble, or BitChute, I want to thank you guys as well. Be sure to give me a follow on those New Tech sites if you haven't already. And then, of course, if you're here on YouTube, that would be the channel icon appearing right there on the screen, usually right about here, if I can get it to line up correctly. You guys can click on that to subscribe, and of course select notifications so you'll know when there's content here on the channel, whether it be me going live streaming or, for example, the video shorts. And I'll see all of you guys right there behind that camera next week.